this tutorial, we're going to try to begin creating some particle snow. To do that, though, first I'm going to select everything that's in the scene at the moment and go to my attribute editor, and I'm going to create a new layer, add everything to the layer, and template it so it's there, but we're not going to accidentally set it. Alright, the next thing we want to do is to prepare our timeline to be able to preview particles. And 24 frames is not going to be enough for us, so I'm going to set our range slider to 500. That'll give us plenty of room to see what's going on with the particles. Particle systems are part of Maya's dynamic capabilities. Maya can do things with physics. It can imitate physics, things like gravity and forces on objects, and it can simulate collisions. It can simulate cloth, and it's just really neat what Maya can do. It's used a lot in special effects and feature films, and some of you may have experience with using particle effects, but what we're going to create here is something very basic. If you're interested in that sort of thing, they have whole courses, semesters, probably 3 or 4 semesters at visual effects schools that you would take just on particles, and so there's a lot to it. But we're just going to have a very scratch the surface type of intro here. So let's get started. First of all, your particles are found in one of two places. They are either in your dynamics menu or your in dynamics menu. The difference in these two is the solver that is used in calculating the physics that operates behind the scene. And in dynamics is newer, has higher capabilities. I'm going to go ahead and use the in dynamics system. As you do, your menus change up here. And, to create particles, there's a couple ways to do that, but we're going to create an emitter that will emit our particles into the scene. I'm just going to click that, and we'll give it a name. This will be our snow emitter. We're going to create a new solver. Let's make a directional. Omni will create particles and spit them out in all directions. Directional will only spit out in one direction. We can also set the speed, the distance from the emitter that they are born, and the spread, but and the direction. Since this is a directional, it looks like it's going to be going in positive X. But I'm just going to accept the defaults and hit apply. And you'll see something in the scene behind the templated snowman. That is our emitter. And if you play, you see a ball that is created. And it doesn't look like much, right? Well, let's take another look at our emitter in the attribute editor, which is this icon, and go to snow emitter. And let's come down. We have 100 particles a second that are being created, but they're not doing anything. They're just staying there. So that's the first thing I want to do. I want to cut this down to about 50. And let's say they're all being created at the origin, a max distance of 0. They're moving in a direction of Y or X, which would be front to back, it looks like. Probably they should be coming this direction, and they have a speed of 1. Okay, and let's go into our animation settings here. Make sure the playback speed is on play every frame. I want to save that. Go to the beginning and see what happens here. Okay. Now, obviously, within particles, by default, it does have animation. or gravity already programmed into it, which we can turn off if we wanted to. But all right, so it looks as though things are being emitted from this point, and gravity's taking them and pushing them down. So I want to go back to these emitters and maybe make the speed to 2 and see what happens. Alright, so it looks like positive z is this in their area, so it's pushing out that way, but not very far since gravity's taking effect. So the more we increase the speed, so if we get a 50, we're probably going to get a very tight stream now. Okay, so you can kind of see what's going on, and then gravity over time, gravity does go into effect. But we're going to leave this at about 3. And instead of going in X, we want to go in positive Y. We want them to go up, and then gravity will take them and bring them down. So let's try 1 in Y and take our X to 0, and just so we can make sure we see it, I'm going to take the speed up to about 10. So this, I'm thinking, is going to go straight up, and then it's probably going to fall back down on itself. Let's see what, yeah. Alright, so it goes up, and then gravity comes back down. Alright. Another thing we can change is the spread. Right now there is 0 spread, so it's going directly, every particle is going straight up in the y-axis. As we give spread, it's going to fan out these particles as they're released upward. So we can see what a 0.5 spread would be. This would probably be like 45-degree angle and anything in between. And you're starting to see what happens there. And we could even do I think it'll only go up to 1. I think 1 is 180 degrees. And it kind of looks like popcorn coming out of a popcorn machine or something. So that's with the emitter. The emitter, we can play with the direction it emits, the spread of the particles, the speed of the particles, and we can also give a max distance. Right now they're all coming out right at the emitter, but we can say we don't want anything coming out. We can give it a max distance. We want it can come out anywhere from 0 to 10 units away from the emitter, and you can kind of see how that affects things. So when those particles are being born, it could be right at the emitter, it could be 10 units away. And that might be something that would broadcast our snow in a wider area. Something interesting, emitters are objects that can be animated, so we can select this emitter, and just for demonstration purposes, I could hit a keyframe here and go to 100 and hit a keyframe here. Just hit S. Okay, so the emitter moves back and forth, and I'm going to go the particles, and let's take that up to about 300. So we can really get a sense of the particles coming out. And the speed I might take down to 2. And I might hit an S again to set that. So when I hit S, it animated the speed and everything in the middle. So I'm going to go to the next keyframe and maybe set this to 50 and hit S. Maybe it's not acting how I wanted, but let's test that out and see what that does. So double click and kind of delete those keys and go back, and I'm going to change the min distance so it's coming out right at the emitter. I'm going to change the spread to about half and take our particles to about 250 a second, and then animate just this guy's X position. So we go to channel box, we're going to say what is this here? This is Z. So we're going to key selected, go to 100, key selected, and so kind of interesting. The only reason I do that, that's not what I want you to do for your project, but to let you know, just as objects on the snowman were animatable, some of these particle attributes, the particle color, particle size, the emitter position, almost everything is able to be animated. So I'm going to double click on this, right click and delete that.